The much-awaited sequel of Dying Light is finally going to be here soon, and we are more than excited to be talking about some early access reviews given by gamers, as well as what fans of the gaming franchise really think about and are expecting of Dying Light 2. For all of that and more on gaming-related news, stay tuned with us. What are the similarities between the original game and its sequel? Dying Light, when it was first set to release back in 2015, was not something gamers had very high hopes for, mainly because there are plenty of first-person zombie games which already exist. So this game was expected to be yet another one of the many we had already played. However, when it was actually released, it absolutely blew the minds of gamers everywhere. This game was a strangely satisfying hybrid of first-person parkour melee game with elements of RPG and quests, and you get to kill zombies. Creating the first sequel to a widely beloved new intellectual property can be tricky, for obvious reasons. The developers must remember not to deviate from the blueprint that originally brought them all that success, but they obviously must not create the same game again either. And let's just say that Techland has managed to strike a wonderful balance between the two. Dying Light Frantics rejoice, for there are numerous aspects of Dying Light 2 which will be comfortingly familiar to those who fell in love with the original game. There will obviously be plenty of parkour, melee-based combat will still be included, and so will the emphasis on crafting. Most importantly, the day and night cycle which existed in the original game, in which the infected would become more aggressive and dangerous as the sun goes down, is promised to be enhanced. How is the sequel different from the first one? In this game, the creators have added an extra layer of complexity by giving the players the freedom to make choices which will have consequences. With that, those at Techland hope that players will see their actions having the power to actually alter the storylines as well as the world itself, which is something the first game actually lacked, for it was way too heavily scripted. Speaking of factions that we mentioned earlier, this time around, game makers have tried to address one of the few criticisms they faced after the first game. The gamers have called the storyline somewhat bland and straightforward. In this new version of the game, players will encounter 3 factions: the survivors, the peacekeepers, and the renegades. The peacekeepers offer a form of authority, while the survivors will serve as the faction the protagonist can most relate with, as they are simply trying their best to survive in this new, terrifying world. The renegades, on the other hand, are part of a street gang. All of this and so much more awaits the general public as Dying Light 2 hopefully finally releases on February 4th, after being seriously delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Players' reactions to the sequel. According to reviews received from early access players, Dying Light 2 is about to be the biggest game of the year. In terms of gameplay, the first game provided the players with a really good sense of height and scale whilst climbing on top of tall buildings, giving them a more realistic and convincing sense of being at a height with the impressive camera sways, sound design, wind, and whatnot. Night mode was one of the scariest features that players encountered, and there was just so much in the game to explore, discover, and feel as if they moved through a post-apocalyptic, closed-off area in one of the cities in Iran with their character Kyle Crane. As for the second game, although it is still a zombie game, Dying Light 2 is set in a different, made-up world altogether. The sequel is set in a world that has been widely infected by a zombie outbreak, with only one city remaining named Villador. The game has also a new central character, Aiden Caldwell, who is a pilgrim in the city of Villador, there to find and save his sister, but ends up uncovering so much more about a much bigger story involving death, war, factions, and a large number of infected people. In comparison to the first part of the map in the first game, the map encountered by gamers named Old Villador felt like a wild upgrade. The buildings in Old Villador have more of a colonial feel to it, giving it a modern medieval sort of vibe, and the players absolutely love having a near unlimited amount of routes available to them, and every aspect of the map felt like it flowed together in harmony to give a seamless parkour experience. So, it is safe to say that Old Villador trumps the map of Iran by a long shot. because of the complexity that its environment provides gamers with, and how exciting is it for them to traverse. Players reportedly experienced a lot of verticality in the world of Dying Light 2, almost as if the game designers brought in the original charm and essence of the first game's map and added a lot of depth to it, which would hopefully cause a lot of excitement when it's explored. Another new addition to the game that makes it much more exciting than its original is the introduction of dark zones. The players can now jump into buildings during broad daylight and fight off heliophobic infected who hide inside these dark crevices to avoid the sun. An aspect that players appear to be complaining about are the health and stagger bars, which now appear to be floating above enemies' heads. The problem is that this game has a very busy HUD as it is, so as to accommodate the new mechanics and systems, adding the enemy health bars only makes the screen appear even busier, which a lot of players find distracting. Although this decision was made by the creators initially to emphasize the RPG direction that the game has taken, so that the players may be able to fight with their enemies more tactically, hopefully, there is going to be a way to hide the enemy health bars for players who are not interested in seeing them. Other gaming news. Monolith's version of the Wonder Woman game to borrow elements from Lord of the Rings titles. With the promising reveal at the 2021 Game Awards of a Wonder Woman game, several fans of the Middle-earth games were forced to speculate if the Nemesis system used in the studio's Lord of the Rings titles was going to return. Monolith has confirmed that the same mechanic would be working on the Wonder Woman game. What gave fire to the speculations, however, was a recent job listing that mentioned an ideal candidate would expectedly have a familiarity with Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War games required for the job, which only convinced fans more on the idea that mechanics from the Middle-earth titles will have to be borrowed for the completion of this project as well. Eager Spider-Man 2 fans design ultimate Spider-Man-inspired poster. Sure, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 isn't set to release until at least the year 2023, but the fans are extremely excited and have been waiting eagerly for the new game to release. In fact, some excited gamer fans have created a poster for the sequel of the game, and may we say that this is a job very well done by the artists, who've crafted this poster in an ultimate Spider-Man style. Being one of the most adored titles starring our favorite web-slinger, the Ultimate Spider-Man game was based on the comics of the same name, featuring a younger version of Peter Parker. The game featured Venom in a central role as being both a playable boss fight as well as a playable character. And yes, there are plenty of reasons for the fans to be excited about Marvel's Spider-Man. What excites them the most is the importance given to the role of Venom. The character has obviously gained a lot more popularity due to its recent live-action movies, which means that this is the perfect time to introduce him to the Insomniac series. The poster that has been created copies one of the promotional posters released for the Ultimate Spider-Man game over 15 years ago. The game's tagline has been changed, obviously, and the new catchphrase incorporates "Be greater" and "Be yourself" in the taglines. Both Spider-Man and Venom have been swapped out with their PlayStation 5 models. Along with other intelligently added changes, the fan-made poster also includes a custom cover for Marvel's Spider-Man 2. New trailer for The Day Before highlights ray tracing. Fans were provided with a new minute-long trailer released in 4K for the third-person shooting game The Day Before. As part of the ongoing CSE 2022 convention, the trailer is mainly focused on the addition of ray tracing and how it will likely improve the visuals of the game. This new trailer gave fans a different feel as compared to the previous trailers, but it appears to be mainly a focus on enhancing the game's visuals. Ray tracing is a lightning technology, and the trailer, given that it is mainly focused on said technology, provided a look into how the game will have improved lighting. A screen cut in the beginning shows how, with RTX on, the depth of color and shading changes drastically for players, and later on, scenes also showcase shiny surfaces and the city beautifully reflecting in puddles. This made fans really eager for the game, as it is essentially going to provide them with experiencing a more realistic and distinct shadowing and lighting with the new release. That's a wrap for this video. Do you agree with the reviews given about Dying Light 2, or would you rather wait to try your hand at the game and then decide if you like it? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.